Ready, sir.
Ready?
Ready, sir.
ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Dear friends, we are in this shloka Dukkhesh vanudvignamanaha Sukheshu vigataspruhaha Vita raga bhayakrodhaha Sthitadhir muniruchyate. I merely read this shloka last time and then did that pada vibhajana also, that is dividing the sentence, dividing the words and all that sentence into words, that we did. And we are in the middle of knowing what exactly this Sthita Prajna is. Sthita Prajna is one whose mind is steadfast, whose mind is very firm in Brahma Jnana, whose mind is very firm in Atma Jnana, in the realization of Atman. He is not something which is who is a very strange or outlandish character. He is not something a strange fellow, but he is like one of us, somebody who has an Atma Jnana. Only difference between us and him is that we react to things in a different way and he reacts to things in a different way. That is the only difference. Difference in perspective. That is the only difference between a Sthita Prajna and an ordinary man. Sthita Prajna is in that Brahmatma Bhava, whereas we are in the Dehatma Bhava. We are reacting to things as a body-mind complex, whereas he is reacting to things at a much higher level. So that is the difference. So this shloka again illustrates the same thing. And as we saw in the earlier Bhashyam, whatever are the characteristics of a Sthita Prajna, that is also a prescription for a sadhaka, for a mumukshu. What is it? The Sthita Prajna se krutartha sarvatra hi adhyatma shastre krutarthasya lakshanani yani tanyeva sadhakasya sadhanani. That is what is the sentence we read earlier. In the earlier shloka, Sarvatra hi Adhyatma Shastre, in this Adhyatma Shastra is the science relating to the nature of the self. Adhyatma is relating to self. So in this science relating to the nature of the self, whatever are the characteristics of a realized person, they are the same thing. That is a prescription. Those qualities, they have to be consciously cultivated by a sadhaka, by a mumukshu. Mumukshu is somebody who has a desire in moksha. So this thing we saw. So whatever he is going to describe, Lord Krishna is going to describe in the following shlokas, we should take it in from two angles. One is, they are the characteristics or the lakshana or the definition of a sadhaka. So not sadhaka, of a Sthita Prajna, of a realized person. And they are the things which have to be consciously cultivated by a sadhaka. So these two aspects we have to see. So let us read the Bhashyam in this shloka. Dukkeshu adhyatmikadishu prapteshu na udvignam na prakshubhitam dukkha praptau manaha yasya saha ayam anudvigna manaha. Soyam anudvigna manaha. Okay. Dukkha and Sukha. We know the meaning of these words. Kham, I told earlier also, kham means indriyam, that is a sense organ. Dukkham is something which is harsh on our senses, which causes some disturbance to our senses, which causes some pain to our senses, which is not very pleasant to our senses. That is what is dukkham. Sukham is something which is pleasant to our senses. Sukham and dukkham, that is at a sensory level. And then senses are not Atman, senses are Anatma. So a person who is a realized soul, a realized person, not a realized soul, realized person, let us say, a realized person, he knows that these are not the Atma dharmas, these are all the Deha dharmas, these are all the Deha dharmas, these are all the Mano dharmas. So that is why this man has to get above all these things. Dukkha and Sukha he has to understand in the proper perspective. दुःखेषु अनुद्विग्नमनाः दुःखेषु आध्यात्मिकादिषु प्राप्तेषु आध्यात्मिकादिषु that means in the three types called adhyatmika, adhidaivika, adhibhautika, adhidaivika. There are three types of say disturbances which are caused. We have seen it earlier also. In fact, even in our prayer, that Shanti Patha, we say Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That is adhyatmika, adhibhautika, adhidaivika. Three types of disturbances or three types of nuisance, let us say. So these three things, we pray that these three things should not occur. Adhyatmika is something to do with the physical self. Adhi plus Atma. Atma, we don't refer to the, say, philosophical Atma. We are not referring to that absolute Atma. We are referring to the physical self. Adhyatmika, something to do with the body. I have a cold today, or some other stomach pain, or some other problem in the body. So this is some Adhyatmika dukkha. Adhibhautika, something which is occurring from outside. Suddenly something falls on me, or some the chair collapses, and then something which is caused by the bhautika, that is the external world. Adhidaivika is something which is fortuitous, as we say, something which is by misfortune, there is some cyclone somewhere or something else which is beyond our control. So something which is a sort of divine intervention, let us say, which is something which is a fortuitous thing, that is adhidaivika. So these three types of disturbances occur to a human being, any human being. So adhyatmikadishu prapteshu, normally we react to it in a very, very emotional way. We react to it whenever there is a pain, we groan, and then whenever there is a pleasure, we revel. So this is our reaction, whereas a Sthita Prajna is one who is neutral in all these matters. Dukkeshu adhyatmikadishu prapteshu satsu. This is what is called as Sati Saptami in grammar. When these things are say attained, when these things befall on him, not attained, when these things, when such disturbances or such nuisances, they befall him, na udvignam na prakshubhitam, na udvignam. Udvigna is, that is something which gets totally perturbed, which gets disturbed. Udvignam na prakshubhitam. Prakshubhitam is again, that is the meaning which is given by Sri Shankara. Na prakshubhitam. Dukkha praptau manaha yasya. When there is a pain, when there is some nuisance, this man does not get disturbed. This man does not get, say, annoyed. Saha ayam anudvigna manaha. Such a man is one whose mind is undisturbed, whose mind is tranquil, whose mind stays in equanimity, in that state of equanimity. Tatha sukheshu prapteshu vigata spruha Trushna yasya. Trushna. Okay. Tatha sukheshu prapteshu vigata spruha trushna yasya. Likewise, tatha means likewise, sukheshu prapteshu. When some good befalls on him, good in the sense, when something which is pleasing to the senses, sukha, when some sukha befalls him, that is when he gets something, some reward somewhere, some unexpected or expected, some good result somewhere. This man, he takes it in the stride, but not excessively rejoices. He does not excessively rejoices or revels in that. Sukheshu prapteshu vigata spruha. Spruha is, that is attachment. Spruha is attachment, enjoyment. Trushna, spruha means vigata spruha. Spruha, the meaning of spruha as given by Shankara is trushna. Trushna is desire. Once you get a good result, you want something more. You get some profit and you want something more. Vigata spruha is somebody who takes it and then he does not get attached to that, he does not get glued to that, he doesn't want more. Vigata spruha trushna yasya. Then he also gives an example. Na agniriva indhanadhyadhane indhanadi adhane sukhani anuvardhate sa vigata spruha. So he is giving the example of a common example in olden days, every day he used to do that Agni Karyam. So in that Agni Karyam, you put some havis, you put some small dried twigs of some trees. So that is what is called Agni Karyam. So the more havis you put, the more the fire becomes intense. The fire, it glows much more, it glows more. So the more you put, the more heavy you put, the more it glows, the brighter it becomes. So, but here, na agniriva indanadyadhane sukhani anuvardhate. So, whenever a person gets a sukha, so he wants more sukha. It is not as though he is satiated or satisfied by one sukha. There is a shloka which says, Najatu kamaha kamanam upabhogena shamyate. Najatu kamaha kamanam upabhogena shamyate. Kama, you know what is desire. Kamanam upabhogena na shamyate. So the more you enjoy, the more you desire. Kama is something which is never satiated. Desire is something which is never satiated. The more you want, the more you get, the more you desire. So that is the nature of desire. The nature of desire is that you enjoy something, you want it again and again. So that is it. Najatu kamaha kamanam upabhogena shamyate havisha krishnavartmeva. So like this havis, whatever thing which you put in the fire, the indhana, that is, indhana is fuel. So not exactly fuel, we should not say fuel, that sacred twigs which we put in the fire for this Agni Havana at the time of Homa, you put only some sacred twigs. You do not put kerosene oil, you don't put some diesel or petrol into that. You put some of the twigs from the from the trees which are considered as sacred. We consider some trees are sacred from the point of view of ecology. In fact, whenever there is a Homa done, if you stay in that area, the type of air, the type of say the breeze you get from there is really so healthy. It is so healthy, it fills your lungs with so much of say vigor, and you feel really vigorous after say inhaling all that smell, because those twigs, those trees, they are supposed to be those trees are considered to be very, very healthy for a human body, and those dried twigs which are put in the fire, they give really good fumes which are healthy for a human body. So that is why they are considered to be sacred. So only those things we put. And indhana, by the word indhana, we don't refer to any other fuel like diesel or kerosene. That kerosene smell will be horrible. We are not referring to that indhana. We are referring to the prescribed twigs here. But whatever it is, whether it is a prescribed twig or whether it is petrol, the more indhana you add, the more the fire becomes intense. That is the nature of a havisha, that is the nature of say the kama, that is the nature of desire. But in this man's case, in the case of a sthita prajna, that does not happen. Agniriva indhanadhane, indhana adhana. Adhana means putting it in some place, putting it or adding. You add more indhana, it becomes more intense. You add more indhana, it becomes more and more intense. Nahi agniriva indhanadyadhane sukhani anuvardhate. This sukha does not become brighter and brighter. He is totally neutral. One, he gets something, but then that does not generate more trishna in him. That does not generate more spruha or trishna in him. Vigata spruhaha. Vigata spruhaha means from whom this spruha has disappeared. Vigata, it has disappeared from him. Vigata means visheshena gataha, nirgataha. That which has left him, all this trishna, desire, these things have left him. So sukhani anuvardhate, this na agniriva indhanadyadhane sukhani anuvardhate sa vigata spruhaha. That is from that one from whom this spruha or desire has left, it has gone away from him or disappeared from him, and that is why even when you add something, the fire does not become more and more intense. So that is the picture here. Next line, Vita raga bhayak krodhaha.
Vita raga bhayak krodhaha.
Ragascha bhayamcha krodhascha.
Ragascha bhayamcha krodhascha.
Vitaha.
वीताः
विगताः
विगताः
रागभयक्रोधाः यस्मात्
रागभयक्रोधः यस्मात्
क्रोधाः रागभयक्रोधाः यस्मात्
रागभयक्रोधाः यस्मात्
स वीतरागभयक्रोधः.
स वीतरागभयक्रोधः.
Similarly, Veetaraga-bhaya-krodha. There are three things mentioned here. Raga, Bhaya and Krodha. This word Raga we got earlier also. Raga, what is Raga? Raga is attachment. Also means a desire. Desire and attachment. It is only when you have an attachment to something, you also have some sort of worry. You have got some anxiety. You develop some fear. That is what is Bhaya. Only when you love your child, you are always afraid of what is likely to happen to him. When you are having such an intense attachment to something, you develop fear also. You purchase some object and then you develop some attachment to that, and you are very conscious that some thief may steal it, and then you also get into some worry. So that also whatever object of enjoyment is there, that object of enjoyment is also an object for worry. So Raga leads to worry. Raga also leads to Krodha. Raga also leads to Dvesha. If you are not able to attain something, you will hate it. You will hate a person who is denying you what is due to you or what you like. You want something from him and then he does not give to you. Then obviously you hate him. And then suppose you like something and then somebody causes harm to that. Then you again hate him, you dislike him. He becomes an enemy. So this is Raga, Bhaya and Krodha. These things are interdependent. And everything originates from Raga. Only when Raga is there, there is a Bhaya. Only when Raga is there, there is Krodha. So for all these things, the Kama or Raga. Kama is desire again. Raga again is desire or attachment. So this is the place of origin for all subsequent developments. In fact, this Arishadvarga, we must have heard of this word called Arishadvarga. That is a group of 6 enemies. What is this? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada and Matsarya. These 6, it is a set of enemies. Enemies for a person's peace of mind. So these 6 enemies, they are interdependent. And all things originate originally from this desire or Kama. In fact, that is what is Buddha's argument also. Buddha's argument is all this misery in this world is basically due to desire. So that is his argument also. The same is the argument in the Upanishads. So Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. Vita means Vigataha. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. Ragasya Bhayamcha Krodhasya Vitaha Vigataha. Vigataha means Vigata Spruha, the same thing. Visheshena Gataha, Nirgataha. That is something which has actually dropped off from him. It is not as though he has consciously left it. They have dropped off from him. They have dropped off from him because of his Viveka. Because of his Vivekaja Prajna. Earlier also we got that word, Vivekaja Prajna. This Prajna or understanding. This understanding is because of this discrimination. He is able to discriminate because of his Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. He is able to discriminate. He is able to find out what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing. And then he has dwelt on that supreme reality, and then he has done some mananam, and then he is now fixed in that particular state of mind. So that is why these things have dropped off from him. These things have disappeared from him. So this again is a prescription for a sadhaka also. Whatever is the quality of a jnani is also a prescription for a sadhaka. So bhayamcha krodhasya vitaha vigataha vigata raga bhaya krodhaha yasmat. Yasmat means from whom? From whom this raga, bhaya and krodha have dropped off. Saha, that person is a vita raga bhaya krodha. He can be called a vita raga bhaya krodha. From one from whom this raga, bhaya and krodha have dropped off. Not only this Raga Bhaya Krodha, we can also say include that entire Arishadvarga. What is this Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Madha, Matsarya, all these things, they disappear from him. Here only in this shloka 3 points are mentioned, but we can include that all these things, they drop off. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha Sthitadhihi Sthitaprajnaha Munihi Sannyasi Tada Uchyate. Okay, Sthita dhihi. Dhi means prajna. Dhi again means understanding, prajna. So that means sthita dhihi means sthita prajna. Munihi. Muni, what is the meaning of muni? Mananat munihi. The definition of muni is mananat munihi. That is because he does this mananam. What does he do mananam? Mananam on the self, on the nature of self. With these three preliminary steps we have seen, this Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam we have seen, this Vedanta Vakyanam Artha Avadharanam Shravanam. That is a proper understanding of the meaning of Vedas, a proper understanding that this, whatever is you call the individual self, is not different from the absolute self. So that is the purport. The meaning is that the realization, or at least a theoretical understanding in the preliminary level. At the preliminary level, it is a theoretical understanding that Aham Brahmasmi. Then slowly he contemplates on that. He by logic, he dispels all the doubts. He dispels all the doubts and then stays firm in that opinion. That is the level of Nididhyasana. So Muni, that is sannyasi. For the word Muni, Shankaracharya is giving the meaning sannyasi. Then one commentator named Bellamkonda Ramaraya Kavi, he also says people like Vasishtha, all other people whom we see in all our Puranas, in all our scriptures. What about them? Vasishtha, Yajnavalkya, they were all householders. They had wives, they stayed with them. But then he says they can be equated with sannyasi, because they had left all other things, and then they were only concentrating on this Atmajnana. And also they stayed in the forest, they stayed away from the humdrum of everyday world, they stayed away from the bustle of the everyday world, and then they stayed in a forest like recluses, and then they have chosen to be in the forest and then abandoning everything. So Nirantara Atma Mananam. So they were indulging in, they were always engaged in Nirantara Atma Mananam. So those people also can be equated, they can be called sannyasis. So that is what he says. Because otherwise, the meaning becomes rather constricted only to sannyasis. So there are other people who are equally good, like Vasishtha, various other munis are there. Vasishtha, Vishwamitra, Vamadeva, various munis are there. So those people. So, Sthita Prajnaha, Munihi, Sannyasi, Vita Raga, Bhaya Krodha, that is what it means. So, Raga is something which is the origin of all things. Raga is attachment. Initially, it starts as an attachment to one's own people, my own family members. Then it may extend to my caste, for example. Nowadays, we also see this casteism. And it extends to my own relatives, nearest group of relatives, we call it nepotism. So these are various forms of raga. And maybe my attachment to my own religion is another raga. My attachment to my own people, my own area, that is parochialism. I come from a particular area, so I like only those people from that particular area. That is parochialism. So these are all various levels of raga. The first thing I like is myself. The next thing is my wife and children. The next is my nearest relatives. The next is my caste. The next thing which I like is my community as a whole. And the next thing I like is my area or parochialism. This is a sort of selective altruism from which a jnani, a realized person, is supposed to get over all these things, and then he is supposed to move out. Otherwise, this raga is going to lead to fear, anxiety, dvesha, that is enmity, and all these things, frustration, anger, all these things, they follow only this raga. So the next shloka, let us see. Kincha Yas sarvatra navisneha tattat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratisthita. Okay. Yaha sarvatra anabhisneha tat prapya shubhashubham na abhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratisthita. This is again another, it is in continuation of what he says. This sthita prajna is one, yaha, he who, yaha means he who, sarvatra anabhisneha. Sarvatra, that is with respect to all things, with respect to all things. Anabhisneha, na plus abhi plus sneha. Sneha means attachment. Sneha. In fact, in Telugu, what do we say sneha? Sneha means friendship. In Sanskrit, sneha has two meanings. That is, one is friendship is one, or attachment, let us say attachment. For friendship, there is another word called maitri. Sneha means attachment. The other meaning is oil. Oil, you know oil, ghee. Snigdham annancha bhojanam. They say snigdham annam means annam where ghee is served. Without ghee, the Brahmins do not eat. Without ghee, not only Brahmins, many other people, we do like ghee. We do like ghee, and then we want some oil, we want some oily food. Snigdham annam cha bhojanam, that is something which is prescribed. It is supposed to be healthy also. Ghee is something which is supposed to be healthy also. So snigdham is something which is associated with sneha. So sneha is attachment. It is something different from maitri. Maitri may be a slightly more positive word. Attachment is a slightly negative word. A slightly derogatory or slightly pejorative or negative word is sneha. Maitri is something which is a slightly positive word because it is used in the way it is used in other books also. For example, Patanjali Yoga Darshana. There is a Yoga Sutra. Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekshanam Sukha Dukha Punya Punya Vishayanam Bhavanataha Chitta Prasadanam. There is a sentence. It is almost like Sthita Prajna. So this particular line of Patanjali, it describes a person who is almost like a Sthita Prajna. What is his attitude to various people? Maitri towards Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha. These four attitudes towards four types of people. Sukha, Dukha, Punya, Apunya Vishayanam. Sukha, that is somebody who is a person who is a really good person. For such towards such a good person, this Sthita Prajna, this Sthita Prajna, or a yogi, let us say Patanjali yogi, he has the attitude of Maitri. Dukkha, somebody who is in Dukkha, this yogi has a bhavana, Karuna bhavana. So he has some sort of empathy or sympathy. So empathy or sympathy, of course, there is a slight difference, but still we can say. So he reacts to such a situation with empathy and tries to help the people who are in distress. Sukha, Dukkha. Punya. When there is somebody who is a Punyatma, then he, again, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita. When somebody is a Punyatma, this yogi is very happy with that situation. Then somebody who is doing Krura Karma, somebody who is doing all villainous deeds. So this yogi is somebody who is not going to fight with him. Yogi is somebody, because it is not his duty. It is the duty of a Kshatriya, it is the duty of a ruler to set right a wrongdoer. It is not the duty of a saint, it is not the duty of a Jnani to go and set him right. Unless there is an interaction with him, unless there is some sort of what you eat as unintended interaction with him, he has no occasion to meet him. So such people, bad people, he has to upeksha. Upeksha means he has to ignore them. He did not bother for them, he has to ignore them because it is not his duty to set them right, it is not his duty to go and fight or punish them. It is the duty of a king or the ruler. So like that, Maitri is a word which is used in Patanjali Yoga Sutra in a different way. Generally, Maitri is used in a slightly more positive sense than this word Sneha. So, Yaha Sarvatra Anabhisneha, somebody who has no Abhisneha. Abhisneha means excessive attachment. Sneha is attachment, Abhisneha is excessive attachment. Anabhisneha means Na plus Abhisneha, one who does not have that attachment. Anabhisneha tat prapya shubha shubham. Tat prapya. Tat means whatever. Tat means that. Another tat is another that. We should not translate it as that. We should only say whatever. Whatever shubham or ashubham. Shubham is something which is good. Ashubham is something which is bad. Bad in the sense, at a human understanding, in the normal understanding, we say something is good, something is shubham, something is auspicious, and something else is inauspicious, we say. Inauspicious is what is called ashubham. Auspicious or something good, what we desire, that is called shubham. So whether there is a shubham or ashubham, this man is neutral to both. Whatever Shubham or Ashubham is there, this man is neutral, he is anabhisnehaha. He does not have attachment to that. Na abhinandati na dveshti. He does not rejoice when there is Shubham. Abhinandati means Nandati. You know the word Nanda. Nandanam. Abhinandanam. Nandana is somebody who gives you happiness. The word Nandana means son. Nandanaha means son. Abhinandati. Nandati means enjoys. Abhinandati, more. Abhi is a prefix which adds to the meaning of the word. Which adds to the meaning means, which is Abhinandati means he really feels rejoiced. Abhinandati, when he gets Shubham, he does not become rejoiced. Na dveshti, when he gets Ashubham, he does not hate it. When he gets something which is a negative result, when there is a positive result or positive or beneficial thing, he does not rejoice. When there is a harmful thing, he does not hate it. Na abhinandati na dveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. Tasya means of such person, prajna, intellect, pratishtita. Pratishtita is that which is steadfast. Intellect means here understanding, not exactly intellect. Prajna means understanding. Prajna is pratishtita. Pratishtita means which is steadfast, which is very firm. So that is the meaning of this is the meaning of that is the meaning of this general meaning of this shloka. The words are also quite simple, though the meaning is very, very profound. The words are very simple. Yaha, the one who, sarvatra, in all things, na plus abhisnehaha, one who is not having attachment. Tat, whatever, tat we should not translate it as that, tat prapya, having obtained, or something which befalls. How does it befall? Because of prarabdha karma. This man is a jnani, he is not himself doing any action, but he has a body. Because of prarabdha, something is there, something is in store for him. That prarabdha karma is, it has taken, it is yielding some result. That prarabdha karma, when that prarabdha karma is yielding result, this man, he should take it in the stride. This prarabdha karma in the case of a jnani is described as a kulala chakra, like the potter's wheel. A potter, if you have seen a potter, the potter makes the pot, and then after taking out that raw pot, in order to dry it, he leaves the wheel. That wheel, because already it was in motion, it moves for some time and then it stops. That is called potter's wheel. In Sanskrit we call it kulala chakra. Kulala is a potter, chakra is the wheel. Kulala chakra nyaya it is called. So whatever karma is there in the case of a jnani, jnani also is somebody who is in a body. Jnani is somebody who is also who has to go and board a bus, he has to go and board a train, he has to go and board a flight, he has to carry on his prarabdha karma, whatever activity is befallen him because of his past karma, something which is the karma which has already started. Prarabdha is something which is started, that which has commenced to give result, that is called prarabdha. Normally we use the word prarabdha in a negative sense. Array some prarabdham. Prarabdham is neither positive nor negative, it is just neutral. Prarabdha means something which has begun to give result. Arabdha, pra plus arabdha becomes prarabdha. Pra is only a prefix. Pra plus arabdha is something which has just started to give result. That is the meaning of that word prarabdha. It is neither a negative word nor a positive word, it is a neutral word. Though we use it in a rather negative sense. So prarabdha karma, because of that prarabdha karma, he continues to do something, and that whatever he does, he is in the shape of that kulala chakra, like the potter's wheel. So because of that, he gets something, some shubham, some good result, sometimes a bad result, and in all these things, he neither rejoices nor hates. He neither rejoices when he gets something positive, nor feels distressed when he gets something negative. Na abhinandati na dveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. So that is the meaning, that is the general meaning of the shloka. Let us see what Shankaracharya says. Yaha sarvatra iti.
Yaha sarvatra iti.
Yo munihi. Sarvatra. Deha jivitadishvapi. Anabhisnehaha. Sneha varjitaha. Tat prapya shubha shubham
शुभाशुभं
तत्तत् शुभाशुभं वा
तत्तत् शुभाशुभं वा
लब्ध्वा
लब्ध्वा
न अभिनन्दति
न अभिनन्दति
न द्वेष्टि.
न द्वेष्टि.
Okay. So here yo munihi yaha, that particular muni, whoever is that person, muni again we just saw the word muni, mananat munihi, we said that is somebody who is a person, a realized person, somebody who has a proper understanding of the self. Sarvatra, in all places or in all situations or in all things. Sarvatra means in all situations. What like what? Deha jivitadishvapi. Like even in his own body, even in the case of his own body, when the body, there is some bodily ailment, or when there is something that happens to the body, or deha jivitadishvapi. So he is not even bothered about his own jivita, his own life. He is not bothered about it. Deha jivitadishvapi anabhisneha. Okay, he takes care of the body. Like you take care of a car, like you take care of something, some vehicle. You have got some vehicle. You have to take care of the vehicle so that it moves. So like that, you have to take care of the vehicle in a proper way, keep it in a proper shape. But if something happens to that, you need not be worried about that. You should not be over worried about that. You have to take proper care, there is no doubt. But then you should not have that abhisneha. You should not have that clinging or attachment. So that is what it says. Deha jivitadishvapi anabhisneha sneha varjitaha. Sneha varjitaha. Varjitaha means once varjam, you know what is a varjam? Something which is not there. Varjam is something which is prohibited. There is a time, a particular time during time of the day which is called varjam. Varjam is something which is prohibited. Here sneha varjitaha means that sneha, that attachment is gone away. There is something without sneha. Something where he is totally detached. That particular, say what is called attachment is not at all there in him. Sneha varjitaha. Tat prapya shubhashubham. Whatever shubhashubham, whatever good or bad prapya having attained, tat shubhashubham va labdhva. That shubhashubham, as we discussed, it is something related to prarabdha karma only, because he himself, he is not voluntarily doing anything. He is voluntarily not inviting anything. So whatever shubhashubham is there because of that past karma, na abhinandati na dveshti. Na abhinandati means, he again explains, shubham prapya na tushyati na hrushyati ashubham cha prapya na dveshti ityarthaha. Shubham prapya na tushyati na hrushyati. He is using, Shankaracharya is using two words called tushyati and hrushyati. Tushyati. Tushyati is again from tosha, santosha. We know the word santosha. Sam is an upasarga. Tosha is the word. Tosha is the actual dhatu. Tush. Santosha. Tushyati, somebody who is satisfied. You get something, you have an enjoyment, you enjoy something, and then you are happy, you are satisfied with that. Tushyati. That is a question of satisfaction. So that is at that level. Hrushyati is a slightly higher level. So hrushtaha, harsha, you know the word harsha. Harsha is happiness. Hrushyati is somebody who revels, somebody who takes pride. Some good happens, and then I have achieved this. You get some distinction in something, or you get some master's degree or some PhD or something like that, and you revel in that. You go for a party and then you rejoice. You may just drink and make merry. So that is what is called hrushyati. So there is an element of pride in hrushyati. There is only an element of satisfaction in tushyati. So Shankaracharya is using words, and then whenever Shankaracharya uses 2-3 words, we have to see that he is not using them in a rather wasteful manner, but he is using them with some little significance. So na tushyati is that level of satisfaction. Hrushyati is that level of reveling or gloating over that, and then taking pride on that. So there is an element of pride in that word hrushyati. So na tushyati na hrushyati. So whatever good he gets, he does not bother about it. So that sense of say happiness or sense of revelry. That revelry, he doesn't indulge in revelry. In fact, that is the basic difference between we Indians and some other people. For example, in the West, you see that there is a lot of reveling. We don't revel so much because our mind has been tuned, our mind is brought up in this manner. We don't revel, we are not trained to revel, whereas the other people are trained to revel. So that is it. Na tushyati na hrushyati ashubham cha prapya na dveshti. Ashubham prapya na dveshti ityarthaha. Tasya evam harsha vishada varjitasya vivekaja prajna pratisthita bhavati. Tasya, for such a person, evam harsha vishada varjitasya. Evam means in this manner. Tasya, for that person, evam in this manner, harsha vishada varjitasya. One who is devoid of harsha and vivada. Harsha, devoid is the right word. One who is devoid of harsha and vishada. Harsha is gloating, reveling. Harsha, vishada. Vishada is despondency. The first adhyaya we saw Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Vishada actually comes from the dhatu Sidati. Visheshena Sidati. Sidati means he collapses, he drops down. Arjuna actually drops down. Arjuna, he left his bow and arrow, he left his say other weapons, and then he just collapsed. He just collapsed on the say Ratham, on the base of that chariot. So that is what is Vishada. That somebody basically collapses. Sidati. Harsha Vishada Varjitaha. One who is devoid of Harsha and Vishada. That is why is he so? That is because of the Vivekaja Prajna. Harsha Vishada Varjitasya Vivekaja Prajna Pratisthita Bhavati. This Prajna, this understanding, Prakarshena Jnanam. Prajna means Prakarshena Jnanam. That Jnanam is understanding. Vivekaja. This Jnanam is because of Viveka. Viveka ja means what? Born out of. Viveka ja. Viveka, that is born out of Viveka. This is something which is not say artificial or anything like that. It is something which is Viveka ja, which is born out of a proper understanding of what is self and what is non-self, what is Atma and what is Anatma. So that is why this Viveka ja prajna pratisthita bhavati. So this is the meaning here. Any other point in this? Okay, next line, next shloka. Kincha yada samharate chayam kurmongani va sarvashah Indriyani indriyarthebhyah tasya prajna pratisthita. Okay, here again there is an example of, not example, there is a metaphor of a tortoise. You know a tortoise, you must have seen a tortoise in a well. Normally in olden days there used to be wells where we used to see many tortoises. And sometimes there used to be wells where we could get in by steps, and sometimes there were no steps, but then we could see the tortoises down below. So, but then nowadays those wells have disappeared. Those wells, only bore wells are there, and we don't see tortoises. Earlier in our childhood, tortoise was something which was seen everywhere. Maybe now we may find some tortoise in some river or in some water lake or something like that. So what does a tortoise do? Whenever you try to touch it, whenever some human being or any other say hostile thing goes near, or whatever it whenever it perceives that there is some hostile element nearby, it withdraws its organs inside. There is a hard shell, and then it withdraws its head and then its legs and all limbs. It withdraws. So likewise, this jnani is somebody who withdraws his organs, sense organs, from the sense objects. So that is the meaning here. Yada samharate chayam kurmaha anganiva. Yatha kurmaha angani samharate. Just as a kurma means a tortoise, a tabelu, a tortoise. Angani samharati, its own limbs it withdraws. Likewise, this Jnani, he withdraws from Indriyarthebhyaha. Indriyani samharati. Indriyani means sense organs. He withdraws from what? From the Indriyarthebhyaha. The eye likes something, so this Jnani, he has withdrawn from that. The tongue likes something, the Jnani withdraws from that. So like that, there is for every sense organ, there is a sense object. For every sense organ, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, for these sense organs are there. For these sense organs, there are 5 sense objects. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. So these 5 sense objects are there. From these sense objects, this Jnani has withdrawn his senses. Withdrawn his, that means he is Atma Ramaha, Atma Kridaha. Not that he is doing it forcibly. It is not something which is doing forcibly. He has found greater pleasure. He has found greater happiness. He is not bothered about these pleasures which are obtained by the sensory organs. He is Atma Ramaha, Atma Kridaha. In fact, in an earlier shloka, I think we read those words. Atma Ramaha, somebody who is happy in his own understanding of the self. When he has an understanding that he is the whole thing, then he is not bothered about a petty thing which is acquired through some sense organ. When he knows that he is the house owner, he does not behave like a servant. He does not behave like a servant who will be interested in stealing a small thing. A servant will be interested in stealing a small thing because he knows he is not the owner. When you are the house owner, you don't steal in your own house. You don't steal a pen or you don't steal a some small object from your own house. So like that, when he knows that he is the whole, he is the Brahman himself, then he has no need for that sensual pleasure. He realizes that whatever sensual pleasure is there, it is something which is petty. It is not as though he has forcibly withdrawn his senses and then he is forcibly sitting tight and whatnot. It is only because of knowledge. It is because of vivekaja prajna. It is because of proper understanding that he has withdrawn, not forcibly withdrawing. So that is the meaning here. So let us see the meaning of the shloka. Yada samharate cha ayam. Samharate means withdraws. Yada, when. Samharate means withdraws. Ayam means this person. This person. Who is this person? This Sthita Prajna. This person. Yada ayam kurmaha anganiva. Kurmaha is tortoise. Angani. Angani means, angam is limb. Angani is plural. Kurmaha angani yatha samharati. Tatha ayam sthita prajnaha indriyani indriyarthebhyaha samharati. That is, just as a kurma withdraws, a tortoise withdraws its limbs, likewise a jnani withdraws his sense organs from the sense objects. So that is the general meaning of the shloka. Samharate cha ayam kurmaha anganiva sarvashaha. Sarvashaha means from all directions. Indriyani indriyarthebhyaha. Indriyani. This indriyani, indriyam is singular, indriyani is plural. Indriyani is senses. Indriyarthebhyaha, from the sense objects. It is in the Panchami Vibhakti. Indriyarthebhyaha samharate. Indriyarthebhyaha means from the sense objects. Tasya prajna pratisthita. Of such a person. Tasya means of that person. Prajna, that is understanding. Pratisthita. Pratisthita means steadfast. So that is the general meaning of the shloka. The words are also very simple. The division of words is very simple. Indriyani indriyarthebhyaha tasya prajna pratisthita. So let us see what Shankaracharya says. Yada samharate iti.
Yada samharate iti.
Yada samharate.
Yada samharate.
Samyak upasamharate.
Samyak upasamharate.
Cha ayam.
Cha ayam.
Jnananishthayam pravritto yatihi.
Jnananishthayam pravritto
yatihi. Kurmaha anganiva sarvashaha.
Kurmaha anganiva sarvashaha.
Yatha kurmaha. Bhayat swani angani upasamharati.
Bhayat swani angani upasamharati.
Sarvataha. Evam gnana nishtaha. Indriyani indriyarthebhyaha. Sarva vishayebhyaha. Upasamharate. तस्य
तस्य
प्रज्ञा
प्रज्ञा
प्रतिष्ठिता
प्रतिष्ठिता
इति उक्तार्थं वाक्यम्.
इति उक्तार्थं वाक्यम्.
Okay, in one sentence he has completed the commentary because it is a simple metaphor. He says, yada samharate. Samharate means sam is an upasarga. Sam means samyak. Samyak is well, properly. Sam is an upasarga. Sam plus harate, samharate. Yada samharate, samyak upasamharate. Samyak means in a very perfect manner. The word upasarga, the upasarga sam means samyak. Samyak means perfect, perfectly. He perfectly withdraws. That is by proper understanding withdraws. Ayam, what is the meaning of ayam? Jnana nishtayam pravruttaha yatihi. The yati. Yati again is, the word yati comes from the word yama. Yama is control, self-direction, self-control. In fact, Lord Yama is somebody who is portrayed as some funny character in all our movies. But Lord Yama is not a funny character. If you see the Upanishad, Lord Yama is a wise man. Lord Yama is the teacher of Brahmagyana. You know that? Lord Yama, Kathopanishad, Lord Yama is the teacher. Nachiketa is the student. Lord Yama is the teacher. Yama is somebody who is supposed to give you Brahmagyanam. Yama is one of the Adhidevatas, one of the, we can say, one of the avatars, we can say, not exactly avatara, one of the manifestations of that divine Brahman. That Yama is something, let us say it is an institution. Yama is an institution where the people go and then they attain, they reap their karma phala. For all the karma we do, the Yama is man, Yama is the person or an institution which gives the karma phala. So there is an institution. Yama should not be equated to Saturn or something like that. Saturn is somebody who is there in a hell. Saturn is a condemned man, but Yama is not a condemned man. Saturn is somebody who is a condemned man, condemned to be there in hell. And he says better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. So that is his attitude. He is somebody who is perpetually condemned. Is the mic okay?
Yes.
This mic has fallen away. So this Yama is somebody who is not a villain. Yama is a god. Yama is an institution. It is something like a Supreme Court. It is something like an apex court which dispenses justice, which gives this karma phala, which is the result of this karma. That karma phala is given by that institution. So that is what is Yama. So from that word Yama, you get the word Yati. Yati is somebody who is having self-control. So that is the word he uses here. Yada samharate cha ayam. For this word ayam. Ayam means this person. Who is this person? Jnana nishtayam pravruttaha yatihi. One who has that self-control. And who is that? Jnana nishtayam pravruttaha. One who is there engaged in jnana nishtha. One who is settled in jnana nishtha. Pravruttaha means not exactly engaged here, we should say settled. In what? Jnana nishtayam. He is perfectly settled in that understanding, a proper understanding of that self. And Kurmaha Anganiva Sarvashaha. Kurmaha Anganiva. Kurmaha Angani Yatha Samharate. Kurmaha means tabelu, that is tortoise. Angani, its limbs. Yatha Samharate. Like it withdraws. It withdraws within itself. Likewise, Sarvashaha means from all directions. Yatha kurmaha bhayat swangan upasamharati. Yatha, just as kurmaha, this tortoise, bhayat, because of fear, swa angani upasamharati. It withdraws its own organs, sarvataha, from all directions. Evam, likewise, jnana nishtaha. That is somebody who is dwelling in that jnana. Indriyani indriyarthebhyaha sarva vishayebhyaha. He withdraws his indriyani, he withdraws his senses from all the sense organs, because he knows jnanam is something which is itself, that is the absolute happiness. Satyam jnanam anantam brahma. Ananda is something which is the result of, which is the nature of that Atma. Ananda is something which is the nature of jnana, which is the nature of that Atma. And when he is in that state of happiness, he does not require happiness from all these, sense organs. That Brahmananda is something which is totally different. Atma is Ananda Swarupa. When Atma itself is Ananda Swarupa, then he does not require all these small pleasures. So that is why jnana is something which is totally at a higher level. And the sense organs, whatever pleasures these indriyas get, they are at a very, very lower level. So that is the reason why he automatically withdraws. He automatically withdraws from these things because he is settled in a higher level of ananda. In fact, there is what is called an Ananda Mimamsa. I remember to have told you earlier also, 5 minutes, okay. There is what is called an Ananda Mimamsa in Taittiriya Upanishad. What exactly is Ananda or bliss? What is bliss? So you have to visualize. You have to visualize somebody who is a very, very rich man, richer than Bill Gates or somebody like that. And then not only Bill Gates, maybe somebody who is dedicated to his profession. But let us imagine somebody who is interested in all sensual pleasures, and then he has got all things at his command. The whole world is at his command. All sensual pleasures are at his command, and he has got all the vigor to enjoy all that. So all that is called Manushanandam. That is Ananda, which is at a level of human being. Whatever maximum ananda, whatever maximum happiness which a human being can enjoy by virtue of his wealth, by virtue of his health, by virtue of all the resources, that is called Manushanandam. So here all the things, whatever is there in this world, all those things are at his beck and call. They are at his command. So that is called, that person, whatever ananda he has, that is called Manushanandam. And 100 times bigger is the Devanam Ananda, this Devatas, their Ananda. Their 100 times bigger is something Gandharvanam Ananda. Likewise, it goes and goes and goes. This Brahmananda is something which is that bliss which a realized person is having. A realized person, a person who is having Atma Jnana, he is at that high level, and all these things which are there in this world, they don't matter for him. They appear very trivial, flimsy for him. So that is why this Kurma, like this Kurmaha Anganiva Sarvashaha, he is able to withdraw not by force, and then he is just sitting tight and then just not going to cinemas and not going to this, that or anything like that. Some people forcibly do that. But then can call themselves virtuous. It is not like that. It is not something which is a forcible virtue. It is something which is there, which has come natural to him. But that is, he is in a higher state of ananda. So he finds all these things trivial. But a mumukshu or a sadhaka, he is supposed to cultivate these things. Slowly he is supposed to cultivate, and then not merely by force, by proper understanding also. He has to cultivate a little bit of discipline, self-discipline, coupled with understanding. Coupled with understanding means learning. Vedanta Vakyanam Shravanam. So that has to go on. These two things have to go on parallelly. So this is the meaning here. Indriyani indriyarthebhya sarva vishayebhya upasamharate tasya prajna pratisthita ityuktartham vakyam. Tasya prajna pratisthita means that of such a person, his understanding is very perfect. Okay, next shloka. Tatra vishayan anaharataha aturasyapi indriyani nivartante kurmanganiva samhriyante natu tad vishayo ragaha sa katham samhriyate ityuchyate. So there is a small doubt. There is a small doubt for him. Okay, you are saying somebody who is withdrawing his senses from all the sense objects. So for such a person, okay, kurmaha, like a tortoise withdraws its limbs, so he withdraws. What about somebody who is doing some tapas? For example, a character like Ravana, a character like Ravanasura. You know Ravanasura. Ravanasura is not an enlightened man. He is a well-read man. There is no doubt he is well-read in the Shastras and whatnot. Only theoretical knowledge is there, but he has not got that self-discipline. He has not gone through that Yama, Niyama, Asana and all these things. That Sadhana Chatushtaya is not there. He may be a well-read person in Vedas, but then he does tapas in order to become more powerful. In order to vanquish all the gods, in order to torture all good people, he wants more and more powers in order to torture people only. the more powerful you get, the more you want to torture others, the more you want to control others, you want to rule the whole world. So like what the superpowers they do now, like Ravanasura is something like a superpower. So he is somebody who wants to control everybody, who wants to fiddle with everybody, who wants to keep everybody under his thumb. So for such a man, he may be doing tapas. At the time of tapas, he does all these things. During tapas, he has to do this, all this, he has to undergo this drill, like withdrawing all the senses from the sense organs, sense organs from the sense objects. He has to do all that. But then he does not have the jnana. So in such a case, how do you reconcile that situation? That is what is the question here. You follow this? Vishayan anaharataha, somebody who is abstaining from all these sense objects. Ravanasura, at the time of tapas, whether it is Ravanasura or anybody, at the time of tapas, he has to abstain from these things. He has to abstain from that, he has to stand, and then he has to do some tapas on Brahmadeva, and then he has to see that Brahmadeva appears, and then he has to get more and more boons so that he becomes more powerful. And once he comes back with all vigor, with all redoubled vigor, he will go after all these sensual pleasures. For the time being, as long as he does some tapas, he is withdrawing from sensual pleasures. But after he achieves his result, after he gets his boon, he with more redoubled vigor, he goes and then he enjoys all those pleasures. So that is the case which is mentioned here. I think we will see it in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.